Hi, everyone. Thank you so much for joining us this morning or this afternoon, wherever you might be. We're absolutely thrilled to have you here and really appreciate your time. My name is Mickey. I'm part of the business development team at Dscript, and I'm thrilled to be joined by Andrew and Prem for our community office hours this morning. So before we get started, we'll do a little bit of housekeeping and a quick introduction. I'm going to just quickly share my screen here. Hopefully everyone can see that. So given that this is our community office hours, I'm guessing that most people here are quite familiar with Dscript. But just in case we have anyone who's new to our community, just want to take a quick moment to introduce you to what it is that we're doing here. So at a very high level, Dscript is a desktop app that is an audio and video editor. And it allows you to edit your audio and video content as easily as editing text. And we say that a lot, but what that actually means in practice is you can either drag and drop your content into Dscript, or you can record it directly in the platform through our screen recorder. And then once you have it in there, it'll take a couple of seconds, maybe a couple of minutes, depending on the length of your content, to transcribe. And then from there, any edits that you make to the transcription are automatically carried over to your audio and video content. And so if you think about all the easy ways that you already know how to interact with a Word document, a Google Doc, delete things, cut, copy, and paste, etc. You can do all of those same actions directly to your transcript and then see those mirrored in basically real time in your audio and video content. You can even go so far as to add new content by typing directly into your transcript using our synthetic voice tool called Overdub. So that's a very, very high level view of what we're building at Dscript. But hopefully that gives you a taste if you're new to our community. So a little bit of housekeeping, just to give you an idea of what our hour today will look like. These are our community office hours, and it's an opportunity for us to tell you a little bit about what we're building, what's coming next, but most importantly, a chance to for all of you to ask your questions and give feedback and just have a really nice conversation together. So today, we are specifically going to be speaking about Studio Sound, which is our newest feature. If you've already signed up for the beta, that's awesome. I think you'll maybe see some use cases today that you maybe have not thought of before, so I think you'll still get something new. And if you've never heard of Studio Sound, that's no problem. You'll hear all about it very shortly. Then you'll get a look into the future directly from Andrew and Prem about what features are going to be coming next. And then really the heart of our time today, as I mentioned, is going to be dedicated to questions and feedback. So please ask lots of questions. We'd love to hear from you. And then afterwards, if you have a few extra minutes, feel free to stick around for some conversation. We are using AirMeet today, and afterwards you'll notice once the broadcast ends, there will be some virtual quote unquote tables that you can click on and join and continue asking questions, meet each other, that kind of thing. So a couple of quick items before we dive in. First is that we really want to hear from you. So please feel free to jump in at any time, post in the chat, which you can see on the right side of your screen. Anything that you post there, just so you know, is going to be publicly viewable by everyone. But feel free to post your comments and questions, comment on each other's comments, etc. If you are asking a question, please just do me a favor and write a Q at the start of it. That'll just help me make sure that I'm not missing anyone's questions and make sure that we get them all answered. And then finally, a great thing about AirMeet is that we can actually bring you up here live to talk to us. And so if you raise your hand, that will be an indication to me that you are willing to come up and chat with us live. So please take advantage of that as well. Last point is just to please note that we are recording this session and we will post it on our YouTube channel afterwards. And so just to let you know that by raising your hand, you are consenting to being part of the video that we will ultimately post on our public channel. So that is all of our housekeeping. With that, would love to give Andrew and Prem a chance to introduce themselves. We're really lucky to have both of them here. So Andrew, I'll turn it over to you.
Hey, I'm Andrew. I'm the CEO here, and I don't know, Prem, do you want to introduce yourself?
Yeah. Hi, I'm Prem. I'm not the CEO here.
He's
I'm a research scientist here at Descript. I've been here for about a year, and I work on studio sound.
Yeah, so we thought we would start by just talking about a little bit about studio sound, which we released to what appears to be some excitement a couple of weeks ago. It's something we've been working on for a while. It's our answer to noise reduction, but it does a lot more than noise reduction. Prem, you have like a demo, right?
Mickey's gonna play it.
Oh,
Yeah, absolutely. Here we go.
Research scientist behind Studio Sound. If you haven't seen the YouTube video introducing the feature from Andrew already. Hey everyone, my name's Prem. I'm the research scientist behind Studio Sound. If you haven't seen the YouTube video introducing the feature from Andrew already, you should check it out. Today, I thought I'd share a few more fun examples and uses for Studio Sound.
Why do we get the seasons? The seasons? Because of the atmosphere?
To be honest with you, that's a very easy question to answer now. We really don't get seasons anymore because of global warming.
I think there was a time when I was a child where we definitely had 4 seasons.
I think now we get summer, 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 and a little bit of winter in Australia.
So, John, how are you doing?
Stephen, look at me. I'm going full Christopher Lloyd in
I could beat you.
what do you think?
I could beat you.
That is a lush mane. We are rocking lush manes. That is, can
What's
I tell
up?
I'm going full Einstein, but I think you might be going full Shining.
Kind of nervous about making videos out here. The last time I made videos, it was cool because I knew everyone. Kind of nervous about making videos out here. The last time I made videos, it was cool because I knew everyone.
As far as these boys are concerned, well, hamburgers and hot dogs are their idea of a really good meal. As far as these boys are concerned, well, hamburgers and hot dogs are their idea of a really good meal.
Do you feel that you ever obstructed justice or were part of a conspiracy to obstruct justice?
Well, in answer to that question, I think that the best procedure would be for us to do exactly what you're going to do in this program, to go through the whole record in which I will
say what I did, what my motives were, and
I think Nixon could use with some filler word removal too. Another cool thing you can do is content remixing. Let's replace the music in this old-timey clip.
When the New York World's Fair opened its gates to the world, it was apparent from the beginning that General Motors' Highways and Horizons exhibit would prove the smash hit of the greatest exposition of all time. When the New York World's Fair opened its gates to the world, it was apparent from the beginning that General Motors' Highways and Horizons exhibit would prove the smash hit of the greatest exposition of all time. When the New York World's Fair opened its gates to the world, it was apparent from the beginning that General Motors' Highways and Horizons exhibit would prove the smash hit of the greatest exposition of all time.
One of the most useful things about Studio Sound is that it lets you record voiceover from just about anywhere. All the voiceover you heard in this video was recorded either on an iPhone mic on the go or a MacBook mic in multiple locations. If you don't believe me, the sentence that you just heard was stitched together from 2 different recording locations. Here's the original. One of the most useful things about Studio Sound is that it lets you record voiceover from just about anywhere. All the voiceover you heard in this video was recorded either on an iPhone mic on the go or a MacBook mic in multiple locations. Anyway, that's all I've got. If you've got any feedback on Studio Sound as I work to improve it, do let us know via Discord or other support channels. Thanks for listening.
Awesome. I love that video because I think it does such a great job of showing all these different ways and use cases that you can be using Studio Sound to improve, live recordings, old recordings, archival footage, whatever it might be. So I see we've got a few questions in the chat, which we'll certainly get to. Before I turn it over to Andrew and Prem to talk a little bit more about studio sound, just want to tee up our conversation with this tweet that came in recently, which I certainly share some of the sentiment for. It should pop up on our screen here. Here we go. So Barry said, how do the people at Dscript make AI tools better than everyone else? They have the best AI voices, the best AI transcription, and now the best noise reduction. I don't understand. So Andrew and Prem, I will turn it over to you to try and address Barry's question. And I certainly share in the awe that he's expressing here.
Prem, what do you think? How does it work?
How do we do this? I don't know. We have a really good team on the research side, basically, and they're all very good scientists, and we have a set of skills that not a lot of other companies have, especially with Overdub, and we've sort of borrowed a lot of those skills to make studio sound happen, essentially.
That sounds like a sports answer. Like you're an athlete. Like, are we doing anything different than traditional noise reduction, or is it a different approach?
Yeah, it is a slightly different approach. Most I see a couple questions, like there was a question in the chat, how does Isotope, for example, not sound this good? With one click, at least. Isotope, will use a slightly kind of different approach to a lot of this stuff, where it'll try to basically mask away sounds in the noise in the original file. Whereas in our case, we're using a more generative approach, where we're taking the audio and we're actually generating sound from it, right? So you'll see things in Studio Sound, like if you put in a 16 kilohertz recording in, that's like a low sample rate, it'll actually upsample it for you up to 44 kilohertz. So even if you're recording off a phone line, in some cases, when it works well at least, it can upsample it back up. So it's actually adding stuff in that wasn't there in the first place. So that gives us a much higher ceiling on Studio Sound's quality, essentially.
Awesome. So it's in beta right now, and there's a few things that we're planning on the kind of 1.0 launch in early October. The things that we'll be adding are an intensity dial, which basically mixes together the original signal with the studio sound signal. And then we're adding it so it can be a default preference for screen recordings and recordings in the editor. Prem's also working on an updated version of the effect itself. Anything you want to say about that, Prem?
Yeah, so there are a couple of artifacts that you might notice in Studio Sound on some recordings. One thing is that it tends to add sort of a little bit of fuzziness to the audio in some cases. We're working on addressing that. So that requires updates to the model. So there are kind of two levels of updates that'll happen at different frequencies for Studio Sound. One is stuff like the intensity dial that Andrew described just now. And the other side is actual model updates on the back end. So that kind of stuff will happen, and we'll kind of make announcements, and we'll try to fix things as we're going forward. Yeah, the question is, are we looking to add some control or to control the amount of processing? I have a couple questions like that, I see. Yeah, I think that would be useful. One thing I do in Studio Sound a lot is I kind of add some EQ after the fact sometimes. And that sort of helps in some cases and makes it mesh a little bit better.
Fantastic.
Yeah. Also, where we're going with it, our goal in building something like this is, and really a lot of what we're building with Dscript is to take away all of the aspects of making audio and video content that are just a technical grind, so that it just works the way that a word processor just works. So you're not going to see us trying to recreate Isotope, which is great and has its and certainly has its role. We'll play around with adding occasional controls to give people a little bit of feedback and but ultimately we're trying to create something that just works for people.
I see we've got a bunch of questions coming in.
Yeah.
Do you guys want to kind of address these now, or should we talk about some of what's coming next and then come back to questions? What do you prefer, Prem?
I can cycle through these questions really quick. Let's
Cool.
just do them each. Okay, so Ken Martin, he's asking exactly how much did the transcription affect the output result? The transcription doesn't matter at all for the output result. They're like totally separate pipelines. So Studio Sound works by just taking in the waveform, the exact waveform, and then outputting it back out, and outputting like the enhanced version back out. Can Studio Sound restore an S on one end of the word if it's chopped off? Maybe. I haven't tested this case for sure, but probably I think that might be a dicey sort of application of Studio Sound, but definitely try it. It restores like frequencies, but it won't restore like phonemes and things that are like chopped off at different areas. But yeah. Let me see the next one. Will Studio Sound have features or just be a magic button? I think, yeah, we're looking for intuitive ways to interact with this thing to make it easy to use while kind of maintaining kind of the Descript sort of ethos around like shipping features like this to make things very easy. And to Andrew's point about how it made it very easy, I made that video like yesterday, and I was doing like takes of the narration, kind of just random places in my house, just using my laptop mic or my iPhone mic, without caring at all like what was going on around me. I was able to just like open it up and talk, and then when I dropped it in, it just worked fine. Like I could mix it into the final video, and it wasn't a big deal. Can you use Studio Sound once you have all your production edited? Yeah, so the way it works right now in the app is that Studio Sound is a checkbox on the whole file. So it'll run on the entire raw file. And then your edits in Dscript will all map over to that. And then if you export from Dscript into another one, there might be some issues in beta right now, but eventually that's going to work too. Cool. Okay, there's a lot of questions. Sorry, I don't know.
Yeah, if you want, I can help you kind of pick out some good ones here. This is a pretty easy one maybe to answer, but Steven's asking, will this only be available in Dscript or is it a plugin? Do you want to take that one?
I'll let Andrew take it, I think.
We're not planning to build our own plugin for it, but at some point next year, we're hoping to make more of Dscript available through an API. And Studio Sound would be a great candidate for something like that.
Nice. And currently, for projects that you are working on in Dscript, there are a bunch of different ways that you can export those projects to other platforms. And so if you haven't checked out those options yet, take a look at that because it'll help you figure out sort of what platforms you can collaborate with Dscript on.
So just to follow up on that, an API is basically a set of like a protocol that other developers can use to build applications that interact with Dscript. And that could either be used by a developer creating and making available, for example, a standalone utility or a plugin for Studio Sound and making it available to other people. It could be made for you as an individual to use the API and build your own workflows. There's also services like Zapier that we integrate with that are kind of like workflow building things that let you say, connect different services that you use. Like you take a file, you drop it in Dropbox, and then you say for everything in this Dropbox folder, send it to Descript, apply Studio Sound, and then put the final file back in this other folder. So those are the kinds of things that an API enable. Basically, it lets us not be the bottleneck on building custom applications outside of the Dscript, for Dscript to operate outside of the editor.
There's a few questions around workflow really quick. Like,
yeah, go for it.
Like, do we use voice modeling? We don't really use voice modeling, so it should work on any voice like There sometimes might be some pitch errors, something like that, but for the most part, it works on most people's voices. And if you have failure cases, please send them to us in the Discord, because we really use those failure cases to improve the model. Can you speak to how it treats two different speakers in an audio or video differently as needed? Yeah, sometimes with excessive crosstalk, it can sort of falter or like enhance one person over the other. But for the most part, like for example, that Jon Stewart, Stephen Colbert clip in the video, there's tons of crosstalk and it seemed to handle it just fine. It doesn't like mix up their identities or anything like that when it outputs. There was one more that I wanted to get to. Oh, it's annoying to have to wait for the transcription to process before applying studio sound. So you don't have to wait for the transcription to process. You just have to wait for it to upload. So it has to upload the full original asset to Dscript. So before we apply it. So if you have like a slower internet connection, that might take a little while. And the way that you can check that is you just look for the pending up top in the top right, and it'll the activity feed. It'll tell you if it's uploaded or not. Cool.
Fantastic. I see Lee here is asking, how do you get access to Studio Sound? Very important question. If you go on our website, you can look for dscript.com/studio sound, and I'll post this link at the end of our session today again. But you can sign up for the beta there, and we'd love for you to use it and give us your feedback on that.
It should actually now be available even without signing up for everybody. It's just in kind of a completely bizarre, undiscoverable place in the app. So you have to, when you drop a file in, you have to click on the file in the sidebar, and then in the right rail, you'll see a checkbox for Studio Sound there. And that will be improved in the 1.0 release. It'll be easier to find.
I'm not using Studio Sound now. Sorry, somebody asked that. I'm not. I'm just using my my regular mic.
You're using an actual studio mic. Yeah, the real deal.
But somebody else asked, are we going for a specific microphone sound? Yeah, so we are going for that sort of like podcaster effect, a very clean sound coming out of Studio Sound. That's kind of like the target, which is like all our training data is kind of recorded on a Blue Yeti microphone. You're familiar with, like, it's just recorded on a regular mic, and just a high end mic essentially. That's what it's recorded on. But the Studio Sound asset that it kind of produces, you can then do a lot of downstream tasks from it to make it sound like other mics very easily. I would say, like, you could EQ out the bass if, for example, you don't want that much bass in the output. EQing the bass out is very easy to do. You can actually do it in Dscript. There's a little microphone idea there. There's a little effects tab on the clip that you can go to and EQ and get rid of bass.
We've got a question here from Ken. He says, I've used this to help remove music under a voice. In these cases, I need to pull that audio into Spectra layer to remove the leftover music. Is this something still being worked on to be fixed?
Yes. So in some cases, music, and I think there was a question about birds earlier, any sort of like harmonic tone, it doesn't always get rid of it completely. And yeah, this is just a kind of a generalization issue with the model. So we just have to work on the model and improve it. But yeah, we're working on it. And actually, in our data that we're training the model on, we haven't actually trained it to remove music. It has just worked on music, like, incidentally. So this is definitely something where we can improve by focusing on that task a lot more.
Awesome. Loving all these questions. Reminder that if you do want to actually come up and ask us live, you can also raise your hand to that as well along the bottom of your screen. There's a little raise hand icon. Let's see. Steven's mentioning maybe you could have a magic button and then a deeper dive option. What do you guys think of that?
I think in general, you'll see us going in that direction with a lot of stuff. Like one of the other features that we're going to be shipping in the beginning of October is a larger suite of audio effects. And the first implementation of that will, like, even now, our implementation of EQ and compressor is pretty bare bones. And if you're not lucky enough to know how those things work, then there's no way you're going to figure it out from using Dscript. Like, what's a ratio or the what all the different knobs are. So we're trying to get some of those bare bones pieces in, and then to make sure that it's powerful and capable, and then we'll add on top of that the magic thing that just sets them intelligently. Now, I mean, maybe that doesn't apply here because Studio Sound takes care of a lot of that for us, but as a higher level principle, we'll be doing more of that as we seek to make Descript easier to use in the months to come.
All right, we've got a brave soul who's willing to come on stage and and ask this question live. David, I'm about to hand you the mic.
Hi, can you hear me?
We can.
Yes.
Thanks for joining us.
Fantastic. Thank you so much. Actually, that's the wrong camera. First of all, Andrew, I would like to say what a pleasure it is to meet you, and I'm glad you've taken all the profits from my Groupons over the years and have poured them into this business. So thank you so much. I am a chef and a tax and wealth advisor, and I'm called the Financial Chef. And I have started a podcast, and my podcast is called Cooking Everything But the Books. And I do a financial segment and a food segment. And it's more of a comment and a kudo. I don't know how I would have done it without Descript, and the way that I do it today, and I'm a newbie podcaster, is I kind of get all my thoughts together by just doing brain dumps, and I create that as part of my workflow, and then I clean that up, I print it out, and then I redo the whole thing to try to get the pace and the tempo. And so I just wanted to say that it's absolutely fantastic, and I mean, I'm spouting to everybody that I know about the product.
That's so cool. Thank you for sharing that, David.
Thank you.
I love the show idea.
Thank you. You can look me up, financialchef.com, and I have a YouTube channel, and I also have been using Descript for the videos there and trying to edit it. We did have a problem where the quality got downgraded quite a bit once, because I recorded it off of a DSLR, and when we put the video into Descript and then tried to export it back out to YouTube, we got a really lower quality video, and it really was our worst looking one.
Ooh, was that just a one-time thing, or have you not been?
We haven't tried it again. We're going to try it again now and try and troubleshoot that.
Okay, well, follow up with us on support or in Discord if you continue to have issues, because that doesn't sound right.
Great. Thank you again.
Thanks, David. Great meeting you.
Thanks, David.
All right. Next, thanks to David for setting the stage here. We've got a couple people coming up now. Nathan, you are up next.
Hello.
Hi, Nathan.
Hi. Sorry. There's my camera. So I work in a few different fields. My day job is I'm in charge of audiobooks for HarperCollins Publishers, and my other day job is I'm the technical director for the James Altucher Show. So I've been using the Studio Sound beta on a few in-production audiobooks that we've had this week to great effect. I wanted to give a few pieces of feedback. One project we're finishing production on is a 90 contributor Anthony Bourdain oral biography, because we're his publisher. And it was written with his co-author, Laurie Wolliver, who was assistant. And she collected an oral biography over the years, wrote it down, and now we're reaching out, and we had 75 of the 90 contributors record from all over the world, kind of rereading their narration out loud, so it's going to piece together. But sourcing 75, 90 studios is not feasible, so we were able to get uniform quality for people like Jose Andres in Spain while he's dealing with the Haiti earthquake, and a few other very people who are pivotal contributors recording on their iPhone, speaking into their phone mics, and having it clean up John Lurie on an island while he's finishing painting with John season 2. Like, it's the only reason these people agreed to record and it made it in the project is because of studio sound existing like 2 weeks ago. Otherwise, they were saying no, and we made them say yes because they found a way that their audio quality would be studio sound quality, you know, enough that we can futz it, right? So we did it, and it works. I'm amazed. A second project, very quickly, we're doing the new Thich Nhat Hanh book with Sister 2 dedication, and we're trying to, he's 92 and had a stroke a number of years ago. He's not, you know, doing stuff anymore, but we're still publishing him. And he had a number of meditations that he had recorded throughout the years that we wanted to include in the audiobook, but it's very poor location quality audio. So I had run it through studio sound and then kind of parallel processed it with the recording to amplify his voice. On one of them, I got the sixth one, the last one, and it was a lower volume. I got a really interesting artifact, and I'll send it to you on the Discord, where it started off with a meditation gong, and it sounded like it was only that. And when I ran it through studio sound, that was gone, but it sounded like a model of him going, Om.
Yeah.
And I'm like, did he do that? Or is it modeling? Or what the hell's going on in this tech? And then when I messed with the gates and whatever, you know, I like reprocessed it offline in Reaper and replaced the file and tweaked it to my needs. But I was like, what the hell's going on with this software? I want to know more, because where I'm like, it's happening. Your products are, this is like going live to market in a few weeks on, you know, products. So on things we're selling, and I mean, we're using it. It's happening. I'd love to help with this stuff, because it's opening huge doorways to me as a person trying to get authors to be able to tell their stories when we don't have studios. Everyone wants to record an audiobook. All right, that's all my time.
That's amazing. That was a great story. I really enjoyed it. To the gong thing, because I can answer that, I think. Yes, the studio sounds a bit of a funky algorithm. Sometimes what it does is it'll actually synthesize speech when there's none in some parts, which is something we're working on. But you do end up with, I've noticed that effect as well, like sometimes with something that isn't speech, especially with harmonic sounds, harmonic monophonic sounds, like a single gong hit, or like a solo violin like holding a single note, stuff like that can sometimes try to synthesize it, turn it into speech.
Because I'm particularly interested in this product because I'm using it, and also right now I'm using it on an Anthony Bourdain project, and there has been so much controversy of that documentary I have nothing to do with, where they had synthesized some speech using an overdub type voice, which synthesized something that was never spoken. And I'm worried about crossing an unknown kind of valley in which I am unintentionally synthesizing things that weren't there to begin with, and trying to make sure I don't do that by accident.
Yeah, so I can give you some assurances, like studio sound, it never changes like the content of the speech, right? Obviously use your ears for the before and after a lot. You are clearly, but for everyone listening, like always make sure that, you know, just that it didn't do anything too much, but it's not designed to do any of that stuff. So if you think that it's going into like an overdub thing and then voice cloning and then coming back out, it's not really, that's not the pipeline that it's doing at all. It's really,
I didn't think it was, but I wanted to know.
Since
this is the whole purpose of office hours, is to be like, what happened?
Yeah, it really just goes wave in, wave out, and like the samples are like aligned. So what it does is it tries to affect like the acoustic quality of the recording more than anything else. So it doesn't really touch the speaker identity or the speech content or anything like that. It really tries to strip out the acoustics and any room tone or any sort of background noise and stuff like that. So
cool. Thank you.
Yeah.
Thanks so much, Nathan.
Yeah, great question too. Thanks.
All right, we've got a couple of hands raised here. I'm going to come to you, Robert, in just a moment. But I want to answer also a couple of questions that are coming in through the chat. So Rod is asking something interesting. He's essentially asking, are we thinking about doing studio video? So are there any plans to create some kind of similar enhancement in the video realm?
This is all stuff that we're definitely looking at and playing around with, smoothing jump cuts, definitely. We're also working on a cool feature that's not really this, but it's more for like social video audiograms that we're calling. You've seen our fancy captions feature. That's just a way to do burnt in subtitles. So we're doing fancy faces that will take a photo of you and animate your mouth under whatever it is that you're saying, and turn it into like a cartoony kind of view, where the hope is that this is something that people can use for these little kind of social clips as a fun thing. So we're experimenting with this stuff and not sure what we're going to release or when yet.
Yeah. Fantastic. All right, back to some raised hands here. Robert, I'm handing you the mic.
Oh, hi. Good afternoon. Can you hear me?
Hi, Robert. We can hear you.
Hi, Mr. Mason. It's a pleasure to listen to you and to hear your voice.
Thanks.
Your work with Detour. Thank you. Your work with Detour inspired me to consider the possibilities of delivering augmented reality experiences, and we currently use Dscript to deliver GPS location-based experiences through voice map. We're just getting our feet wet. It was what Detour did all together. We now use you and somebody else to get the same assets in place. It couldn't be done without you. You know, scaling into delivering these types of experiences. We've deconstructed over 300 nonfiction texts about Manhattan, and we add to that other very high level sources of real location-based information. And then we use your tool to begin to scale into the delivery of this information on the street in nodal GPS location-based experiences. And it's a blast. And I just want to thank you for being a part of this last few years. Even though we didn't, we used your product, and it was the only way we knew how to do it. Appreciate it. Thank you.
Oh, that's so cool. Thanks for sharing that. For those that don't know, I don't know why people would, but Dscript actually started out as an internal tool inside of another startup that we were building called Detour, that was basically a location-based podcasting app. And the version of Descript that worked in Detour was basically the same thing, except imagine what are markers representing different segments, either between two locations that a user would walk between, and then or at a stop. So your path would be divided up into these segments by markers. And then there was a little bit of dynamic stuff where any music cues would continue to play and sometimes loop until you reach the next pin. And then the export was a kind of multi-track export that ran in the app. But other than that, it's basically the same bones, and we've just built on that. So it should work pretty well for making location-based podcasts. I'm glad that I'm glad to hear that you're continuing to plug away at that problem.
Thanks, Robert. Great meeting you.
Thank you.
All right. So Andrew, we're going to come to you in just a moment, but we'll first take a question from the chat here. So Lee's asking a question about collaboration. Can someone on my team do the main video editing and then I can finish it? Is it possible to transfer project files? So the short answer is yes. You can collaborate with team members on Dscript projects by sharing it to their email address, and you can actually comment and tag each other. So even if you want to give feedback on specific things, you can collaborate that way as well. Andrew and Prem, anything you want to add on collaboration here?
No, it works like Google Docs.
Yeah, that's probably the best way of putting it. All right, back to a live question. Andrew, I'm handing you the mic. Another Andrew, I should say.
Hello, can you guys hear me?
Yes.
We can.
Hi, Andrew.
Hey there. Yeah, my name is Andrew. I am an audio editor for a podcast production house called At Will Media. We just started using Dscript and love the potential it has, I think, to really expedite a lot of things in our business. There are a few functionalities that I wanted to inquire about. An Adobe Audition house, so mainly that's what we're using. Um, and we love how easy it is to import a Descript transcript into Audition. However, we do use a lot of templates for different projects, and we're wondering if the capability of importing um, a Descript session into an Audition template will become available at any point.
Oof, gosh, I have to say probably not. I don't even know what that is, an audition. Like you mean you're talking about importing it into an existing session instead of creating a new session from it?
Right. Well, so when you create like a new session in Adobe Audition, there is an option to choose from a template. So usually we have like a number of tracks and buses and effects like pre-saved already. And so that would be huge for us if there was because as of now, I believe you export to Adobe Audition and it creates the session. Also using whatever sample rate is highest of the audio that you've imported. And so there are some clients we work with that have different specs for like the types of sample rates that we can work with. So for Audition anyway, you have to choose the sample rate specifically when you create the session, or it has to
Right.
convert the files. So, but yeah,
So,
the session template would be great.
Yeah, I've never heard that request before. So
Cool.
I don't know anything. It's possible that it's like a really easy thing to do. I'll ask
Yeah.
after this, but I wouldn't count on it. Let me ask you a question. And
Sure.
it's okay if you just want to respond by laughing me out of the room. So like the way we think of what we're building at Dscript is ultimately we're trying to build a tool that makes more creators, that makes it possible for people to make audio and video content who aren't making it now. And we think the way to do that is, of course, making something that's easy and fast, but also making something that eventually is as capable as tools like Adobe Audition. So on the one hand, like it doesn't do me any good for you to stop using Audition. Like we make the same amount of money if you're using Dscript as like a pre-production step and then you mix and master in Audition. But we still like to understand for the people that are using Dscript in conjunction with Audition, what is it missing, and what would Dscript need to be able to do in order for you to do your full production process there?
Well, the shows that we make have lots of music, sound design that require a real DAW, a real digital audio workstation to lay all of those things out and really deliver on what we're producing. Does Dscript have that functionality to kind of operate within like kind of a linear like left to right sort of layout?
Yeah. So, I mean, hold on. Can I share my screen?
You can. Down on the bottom, there's a little upward arrow. Yeah.
So I don't have audio working or anything, but just to show you what this would look like. This is what a multi-track session looks like in Dscript and what it looks like to have music here. So you can add music tracks just like you would in a DAW, and you have a media library where you can either drag music files in like this or drag them directly into the script. So you should be able to.
Yet, Andrew. Just
I'm not sharing my screen.
Yeah,
oh, sorry.
We're not seeing it yet.
There we go. Okay, sorry.
I was using my imagination.
I feel like every time if you say, "Can you people see my screen? Can everybody see my screen?" It's like a rule that they will be able to see it, but the one time that I don't say that. Anyway, you can see here, this is how the multi-track
Gotcha.
This is how the multi-track works, and you should be able to do most of that that stuff in Dscript. You can even, if you want to, close the script view and just work purely in a timeline based view for certain types of edits.
No, that's great. I think that the level at which we're operating in Audition, we wouldn't like. There are a lot of very tedious and small functionalities that Adobe Audition allows us to perform that I just don't think would be possible in the Dscript layout, at least not yet.
Yeah.
I mean, we use a lot of third-party plugins. There are all sorts of like markering systems we have in place that are, like CSV files that are, within the audio that basically we operate with our producers to lay out scripts and during the pre-production process. And that's something that Audition is really good at.
You mean like in the templates you have your templates have kind of markers laid out in advance?
Yeah, some do.
What does the CSV file have to do with it?
So a CSV file is just like the markers that we leave within the audio file, whether it's like a certain portion of the interview or a certain section that we want to go back to and revisit later. Not as relevant, I guess, to like the actual multi-track form of Dscript, but I would bet that that we would have a tough time recreating the types of shows that we create in Audition in Dscript, and that's not a knock on you guys at all. Like I just didn't know that you were trying.
But let me ask you something. Wouldn't it be cool if you could?
It would be cool if you could, and that's probably a huge opening for you guys, I think.
So challenge us. Give us think about it next time you're using it in the future, and come on Discord and tell us all the things it would take to pull that off.
Can you guys run third-party plugins like Vsts?
Yeah, so I was going to
bring
that up. That's probably in the near term going to be the biggest potential blocker. We're about to come out with a suite of audio effects that will that hopefully will have a effect that covers everything that people need in 99% of use cases for audio. It's not going to have, the artisanal plate reverb waves plugin or whatever. Right. So there's definitely like that type of use case that I don't think we're going to have a solution to anytime soon. We're wary of integrating VST plugins because it's just a world of pain, and we have longer term ideas about how we can achieve that same kind of flexibility for customers, but hoping that for a lot of people, the new suite of effects that we're going to release gets them over the hump.
Cool, that's great. I have one more quick question, and then I want to give the mic up because I don't want to take up too much time. But some of our producers have said that when they create, like one of the AI voices. So let's say we have just a basic interview of an interview and an interviewee, so just two voices. But if they're trying to recreate the voice of the interviewer and simulate questions that are being asked, and they do that throughout the interview, it creates a new track for each question, even if they label the AI voice as speaker AI, let's say, and they use it multiple times. Are you guys aware of that? And because sometimes I think our sessions, when they're imported into Audition, are 30, 40 tracks, and it takes some time to reorganize and get everything back onto one track.
Yeah. Oh, interesting. There's a I'm just looking at the Audition expert. I'm sure this is a known issue. There's a setting called create track for each file that they're probably using, and Audition or Overdub creates different files. So we should probably create a special case for that. The workaround would be to not create a separate track for each file, but I'm assuming that your producers know that, and there's some other reason why they don't want to do it that way.
Yeah, I think they'd rather take the time to organize or to consolidate the separate AI tracks into one rather than having to go through.
Okay.
But yeah, that's something.
Let me see what we can do about that. Yeah.
Cool. Thank you. All right, that's my time. Thank you guys for letting me ask my questions.
You bet. So there's one question I want to respond to, and I also want to like open up that invitation to anyone else that's using Dscript in conjunction with another DAW to because the release that we're doing in October, a lot of that is focused on addressing some of the remaining rough edges for a power user of a DAW to make it easier to use Dscript for that. Things like adding more audio effects. And we think we have a pretty good sense of what we need to be doing, but always love hearing what people feel like it would take to simplify their workflow and let them do more stuff in Dscript. This one question about finishing with Auphonic. So we're curious. So we're already doing a little bit of that. Like when you add clips to Dscript or files to your Dscript timeline, we're doing auto leveling. So we're doing loudness-based normalization there. So your mixing should be pretty good straight up. We just added a feature called ducking, what's traditionally known as ducking, but it's just a setting on tracks to reduce volume on like music tracks so that voiceover pops a little bit better. And that's another kind of auto mixing feature that we have. And then finally, we do a loudness normalization on export. All of that combined with studio sound, which is basically making your voice tracks sound good. We're hoping that gets us pretty close to pretty far down the path of doing some auto mixing. We want to do more, but we wanted to get this stuff out there and just see what people feel like is still missing, or where just like using Dscript without doing any mixing, it feels like stuff isn't sounding good, and you need to put in manual labor, or have some experience and skill in that stuff.
Andrew, I know we've been talking about some of the effects that are coming up. This may be a good time for us to transition to some of the stuff coming down the line.
I don't have that much more to say about it. Do you have a slide with that?
I do.
All right. If you put up whatever slides you have, I'll talk about whatever's on the slide. Yeah, so this is the list of effects that we're hoping. I don't know if we'll get these all in by October, but we're hoping to. So if there's anything that is critical that's missing from that list, let us know. All right, go to the next slide.
Yep.
Was that all thumbs up from different people, or is that
I'm going to assume
one?
it was. It's a lot of love. Yeah.
Okay. Okay, so can you zoom in on this? I can't tell what's going on.
That is
here.
a good question. I unfortunately don't think I can in AirMeet.
All right. So what's going on here, like over the course of this year, we've made a number of changes to the basic information architecture of Dscript to try to set ourselves, like basically the history of the company was, as we've worked our way towards, we've always been working our way towards being this kind of app that's combining audio and video editing into one environment. And the conventions of editing and audio and video are a little bit different in some cases. And then on top of that, we're trying to translate all those conventions from a timeline to a document, right? And we've had all that in mind as we've been building stuff, but it's hard to get this stuff exactly right a priori. So now that it's out there and we're able to experience it, we have a much better sense of what we need to do to set ourselves up for all the stuff that we're going to be adding in the future. And so we've been making a bunch of changes to that effect, like the change to the sidebar that we released a few months ago, the change to the editing modes that we released before that enable spacebar for play and pause. And one of the next things that we're doing here is making an improvement to the inspector to make it hopefully a lot more useful. And actually, you'll be able to do a lot more editing directly from the inspector and not even need to use the timeline. So we're breaking out the inspector, the clip inspector, from what we're calling the mixer, which is just like the overall, all of your tracks and the ability to set volume or add track level effects. But then as you're just clicking through the script, you'll see the clip inspector, but we're also adding a transition inspector. So if you click in on an edit boundary, you'll see, you'll be able to set the transition directly from the inspector, video and audio transitions separately. And then this is going to be an easier way to add all of these effects. You'll be able to add effects on the clip level as well as on the track level, and at least in some cases on the file level, which is kind of a cool thing. So that's all coming, and we're also doing some other things to make editing directly from the script without needing to context switch down to the timeline a lot easier. Like you'll be able to edit the duration of pinned tracks. You'll be able to grab the end point of pinned tracks and move them around, and it'll just be easier to, really the only thing that you'll need to use the timeline for is fine tuning edit boundaries. Even for that, we're adding a new control in the toolbar that will let you see the amount of time in a word gap between two words, and then a slider to control that. I don't know if that makes sense, but that's kind of some of the stuff that we're focused on.
Fantastic. So you heard it here first, a little preview of what's coming next. We've got just a couple of minutes left here, and I want to make sure we get to as many questions as possible. We've got a couple of quick things we can answer. Someone's asking about multi-language, specifically Arabic, being added. And it's definitely not something that we support right now. It's one of the most requested features to have multi-language support. So it's likely something that's kind of further in the future, but I'm not sure if Andrew or Prem have anything specific to add on that.
One thing is, I think Studio Sound actually works on multi-language, even though it wasn't trained for it. So you guys can still use Studio Sound, hopefully.
Yeah, another thing about Studio Sound, we kind of realized like a week before it shipped that it's free. In other words, like none of the paywalls that we have in the app currently stop you from using Studio Sound. You can just drag a file into the sidebar and turn it on. And we think we're good with that. We're like, maybe it depends on what happens. We might end up changing that at some point. But for now, you go crazy.
All right. We've got one more raised hand here. We can hopefully make it a quick question before we wrap up and move into the lounge. But Mark, I'm coming to you with the mic. Can you hear us, Mark?
There we go. Hi there.
Hi.
One thing.
Hi, Mark.
Good morning. My company, Versus, which is a startup, is making use of the overdub feature, and I've been using it for things like doing voiceover for videos that we're producing internally. And our CEO co-wrote a book and is interested in actually having the whole thing narrated with his voice as an audiobook. And I'm just curious if there are any improvements coming down the pike to the output of overdub. And I'm just saying that from someone who's not experiencing the problem of input. Like, I've been working with really good input, so I'm just curious if that's anything in terms of timing when we might do that project.
When did you train the overdub voice? How long ago was it?
Oh, good question. I think that was 2 or 3 months ago.
Ooh, I don't remember. So we did release a model update that created some quality improvements. Maybe Mickey can follow up on the specific date on when that was. And if it was before that, you could retrain it. We're always working on quality. It's not like an episodic project for us. We have a team of people that are constantly working on overdub. And the weird thing about it is that some of the quality issues that we see are really inconsistent voice to voice, where where like the most common thing we hear is kind of a warble in certain words, but it doesn't show up on all voices. So like maybe if you hop into our Discord channel, we might even be able to see if there's some like a overdub doctor that could help see if there's anything that we can do to get it as good as we possibly can. I don't know if there is. While you're mentioning it though, we are next Monday shipping a bunch of improvements to Overdub that are more about making it easier to use. So we're making it available in a kind of limited vocabulary version on all plans. So you won't, we're getting rid of the trial version of Dscript Pro, and Overdub will just be available for everybody on all plans to try, but it has a limited vocabulary. It just, you can only use the 1,000 most common words in the English language, and then everything else is replaced with gibberish. So that's kind of the way that you can get a feel for it in a trial version. And the other thing that we're starting to roll out is a new verification process where you just need to record a short verification statement, and then you can upload pre-existing audio for your voice training. And the cool thing, and then as part of that, we're also letting people create as many overdub voices as they want. And the reason we're doing that is we realized that a lot of the quality issues that people run into, in particular when they're using overdub to correct existing audio, is recording quality or differences in the recording conditions between the audio that they use to make their overdub voice and the audio that they're correcting. So so now we're trying to make it really easy to create overdub voices, even on a one-off basis, based off of the individual that are more contextually correct to the recording conditions that you're using.
Great. So it sounds like for the time being, at least, the quality of like the sample might need to be re-recorded to upgrade the output.
It wouldn't need to be re-recorded. It would just need to be resubmitted.
Okay.
With the latest model.
Okay. If I can't figure out how to do that, I will check out the Discord as well, because I haven't actually ever been there.
Okay. Yeah. If you just pop in there and say you need some help, someone will help you out.
Great.
Yeah. On the research side of things, like Andrew said, we're always working on overdub. There's some promising stuff, we think, but unsure at the moment.
Nice.
Right. Thanks, Mark.
Thank you.
All right. So I know we are just a little bit over time here, but really appreciate all of your questions. I've seen a couple of people ask, they said they joined late. Is this going to be posted on YouTube? The short answer is yes. The whole thing will be posted very shortly on the Dscript YouTube channel. We will just quickly wrap up here before continuing on in the lounge. So a couple of sort of parting thoughts. Let's see here. All right. So as I mentioned, if you have more questions that we didn't get to today because of time, please come hang out with us in the lounge. You'll see us at the tables, as I mentioned, so come chat. For people who had questions about support, you can either contact support@dscript.com or visit help.dscript.com. There's a bunch of articles on there to get you started. If you haven't already, please check out Studio Sound. Let us know what you think. And as has been mentioned multiple times, come hang out with us in Discord as well at discord.dscript.com. So with that, just want to thank you all for spending an hour with us. We really, really appreciate your questions and your feedback. And of course, a huge thank you to Andrew and Prem for giving us their time this morning and giving us so much insight into Dscript.